These are the materials that we're going to be using for our project: 11 jumper cables, an active buzzer, an RGB LED, 3 10-ohm resistors, an ultrasonic sensor, a breadboard, a USB cable, and a controller board. We are also going to be using the Arduino IDE software, a code, and a laptop or computer. What is an ultrasonic sensor and how does it work? An ultrasonic sensor is a sensor that detects how far away an object is, and it works by sending waves from a transmitter into the object and they reflect back into the receiver. It then uses the equation distance is equal to velocity times time over 2. What is an RGB LED? RGB LED stands for red, green, and blue LED, and it uses those three colors to create different colors. As you can see, we have 3 different values for each color. This diagram shows the different colors that can be created using red, green, and blue. This is the code that we're going to be using for project 4. We have our variables. Distance min is equal to 10. Distance max is equal to 50. 6 distance is equal to distance max minus distance min over 6. Half distance is distance max minus distance min over 2. We have RGB, red, green, and blue. And we have our pins for our controller board. We have blue is for pin 10, green is for pin 11, red is for pin 12, and the buzzer is for pin 13. We then have some equations to find other variables. We have duration, distance, and distance in inches. Duration is equal to pulse in parentheses echo pin, comma high. For distance is equal to the duration over 2 times 0.0343, and distance in inches is equal to distance times 0.393701. We start with our first if statement, which states that if the distance is less than distance min, which is 10 centimeters, the red value would be equal to 255, green will be equal to 0, and blue would be equal to 0, meaning that the RGB LED will be red. Our second if statement uses a logical AND operator, which states if our distance is less than or equal to half distance, which is equal to 20 centimeters, and greater than or equal to distance min, which is equal to 10 centimeters. Our values for R, G, B are provided below. Our value for R is equal to the function provided. Our value for G is equal to 0, and our value for B is equal to the function provided. This means that the RGB LED won't be green. It will be in the colors that are in between red and blue. Our third if statement states that if our distance is greater than or equal to half distance, which is 20 centimeters, these are our values for R, G, and B. R will be equal to 0, G will be equal to our function provided, and B will be equal to our function provided. This will mean that the RGB LED won't be red. It would be in between the colors green and blue. Our fourth if statement states that if our distance is greater than distance max, which is 50 centimeters, the value for R will be equal to 0, the value for G will be equal to 255, and the value for B will be equal to 0, meaning that the RGB LED will be green. And finally, we have our last statement. It is an if-else statement that uses a logical AND operator, which states that if our distance is greater than half the distance over 2, which is 10 centimeters, and less than half the distance times 3 over 2, which is 30 centimeters, the buzzer should be on. Else, meaning that if it doesn't meet any of the requirements, the buzzer should be off. Our logic says that if our distance is less than 10 centimeters, which in this case it is around 7 centimeters, our RGB LED should be red, which our serial monitor says it is. And as you can see, the RGB LED is red. I found out that our RGB LED is blue when our distance is around 20 centimeters. Our serial monitor says that our RGB LED is blue. And as you can see, the RGB LED is blue, and I switched out the buzzer so it could be more quiet. Our logic says that if our distance is greater than 50 centimeters, which in this case it's around 52 centimeters. The RGB LED should be green. Our serial monitor says that our RGB LED is green. And right here our RGB LED is green. Our final logic states that if our distance is in between 10 centimeters and 30 centimeters, our buzzer should be turning on. Our serial monitor says that our distance is 36 centimeters, but as I move the object that is trying to get the distance up, the buzzer should be turning on, and the distance is 24 centimeters.